Welcome to the E-Show with Neil Ravin. Founded in 2013, the EHL has become the college placement leader on the East Coast. Sit back and learn more about the next step in your junior hockey career.
Welcome to the E-Show, presented by the Penalty Box Foundation. The Foundation's mission centers around their daily motto, we take care of our own, as they help out all of those within the hockey community who've experienced a catastrophic event. Learn more at penaltyboxfoundation.org. What's up? My name is Neil Ravin, and this is episode number 147 of the E-Show. On this week's episode, Jake Basile kicks things off with an interview featuring Cody Gonyeau, the new head coach of the Boston Junior Terriers. Following the interview, we break down the unique spot where we're at on the calendar, and in particular, an important showcase next week in Connecticut. Further along in the E-Crew Fantasy Challenge, don't call it a comeback, but Team HNIB has started to make up some ground on Team OG. Finally, with no new podcast episode coming out between now and the holiday break, we each preview a matchup to watch in the EHL and the EHLP as we work our way down the final stretch of games in 2022.
Hello, E-Show fans. Today I'm joined by newly named head coach and GM of the expansion Boston Junior Terriers, Cody Gonyeau. Coach Gonyeau has a plethora of experience in coaching, scouting, player development, and administration. He most recently served as the head coach of the Northeast Generals 16U AAA team while also directing their Generals Academy program. He began with the Generals in 2017, where a scouting role evolved into positions as assistant general manager and assistant coach. He now looks forward to the inaugural season for the Terriers at the junior level. Coach Gonyeau, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So the Terriers are an organization with a strong reputation in the youth hockey scene. How much of an honor is it to be chosen by them for this role?
Well, it's a huge honor. Getting to know the people that are coaching there and have been part of that hockey family for a while. Have been, they've done a lot of successful things with, mites to, higher levels of AAA to girls program, and just seeing a successful program like that, it's just an honor to be part of it all.
So you start your start in the NAL with the Northeast Generals as a scout, and it turned into administration, coaching. So how do you think that work kind of honed your skills in recruiting and player development?
Yeah, so with scouting, you kind of see a lot of different hockey all throughout the United States. I've been lucky to travel overseas for a few scouting opportunities and getting to know how hockey works over there, getting to know coaches, getting to know general managers and other, junior organizations. Really, it's just, absorbing everything you possibly can in scouting and, finding the right players based on, some of the key aspects we're looking for, and collecting all the information as much as possible. There's a lot of hockey teams, there's a lot of different levels, there's a lot of areas around that we can find players, and just being willing to collect as much information is what's going to kind of help us be successful.
And so your time as a head coach has been primarily at the youth level, coaching AAA and high school hockey, but you've been an assistant at the juniors level before. What changes do you expect being at the head coach level this time, ushering in a new team in juniors?
Yeah, so now I'm more in charge of making sure the culture of a junior organization is following the pathway that I want it to. I was lucky to come into the junior world as an assistant coach and just, learn a lot of the ins and outs to that type of locker room. How that level of play is, preparing, for games, and how to go about, establishing the right culture for, that group of players. So, my probably new task that I've been already trying to, figure out is, what kind of culture do I want to, instill into the team, and how do I want to go about, developing that along the way.
And with your time in the NAL, what have you what can you bring from that in terms of creating a new culture?
Yeah, I think the the North American League is extremely talented, and seeing how talent takes off and how players respond to talent against them um, is is an important. And what I noticed right away jumping into the league was how each player had to pump each other up, how to rally behind the bench, how to show positivity, how to show seriousness, how to go about each shift, how to celebrate a goal. It's the small things, and those are going to be a lot of the things that I want to translate into the Eastern Hockey League is making sure that that type of culture is what I bring to the junior level, and seeing that help the Terriers be successful.
And so you've been a director too with the Generals Academy, which is a combination of academics and hockey. So putting an emphasis on the academic side of the game too is something that the EHL puts a lot of emphasis on. College hockey is the desired destination for so many of these players. How do you envision yourself being able to help them get to that level?
But right away, it's resources. Speaking with the owners of the program, academics was probably one of the first things we talked about, because that is probably one of the more important things in everyone's life is setting themselves up for after hockey, when or how that may be, but providing them with the resources, helping them prepare for tests, how to schedule certain classes to kind of prepare for entry level courses in the college world, tutoring availabilities, testing accommodations. While we do that at the AAA level, it's also an important thing to do at the junior level. And I noticed while working in my prior role that I also noticed how important it was to help a lot of players prepare for certain schools, whether it was taking SAT prep courses, or um, writing letters to certain colleges, or organizing transcripts and retaking certain courses after graduation. There's a lot of things that players can do to make sure their application is strong. And I've been able to understand a lot of the processes that are needed to be taken to make sure they're organizing a strong and competitive application for certain colleges.
And character is another thing that a lot of these college coaches and general managers look for. So how do you see yourself as being a mentor to these kids in terms of values and stuff like that?
The biggest thing I'm looking for is how they treat each other, how each player fights for the guy sitting next to them. And character is really the behind the scenes stuff that I might not see all the time. And how it's tough for a coach to be able to measure the character of a certain player when he acts differently when I'm not in the room, and that's by the biggest thing that I can do is constantly preach types of characteristics that colleges are looking for. If the point of this league is to get players to win games, to get players committed to college hockey, it's, hey, this is the questions that these college coaches are asking me right now, and these are the questions that you need to be asking yourself. Are you that kind of person? Are you behaving that way? Are you treating each other with respect? Are you are you ready to go to be the best possible version of yourself day in and day out this season, so that when colleges are asking, hey, what is this player like? I have lots of information to share with them, and it's easy for me. So those are the things that I'm going to have to start from day one, and really manage the characteristics that I'm looking for and expecting for out of my players, because setting them up day one is going to really set them up for that road to commitment.
And shifting the focus now to the junior terrier specifically, your thoughts in general of just being on the one to have the responsibility of bringing this team into the junior level?
Yeah, it's quite a, it's a big ask to bring a brand new junior organization in, and it's tough, but it's also extremely exciting. And one of the things that really fuels my spirit to do so is just by seeing the people that are in that organization already. Within my time being there, noticing how hard everybody works, how hard how important they understand hockey is for young players. And I see how serious they take each and every single little detail, and in that organization they find a lot of successes because of it. And that kind of fuels me, and that's what makes me want to have that same type of characteristic myself as a coach and as a general manager, and build a new team into the pre-existing community of the Boston Junior Terriers, and exposing those players to the families, the coaches, the young players in the Boston Junior Terriers, and helping everyone be collaborative in the hot world of hockey. And it's kind of like a little part to that all that really just fuels my passion, just to make sure that I'm bringing in the right players, make sure that I'm doing my job as a general manager, asking the right questions to other coaches, and finding the right guys, because there's an important family there at the Boston Junior Terriers, and I think it's important to make sure that we're finding the right people to bring in.
And speaking of those exact people, the period to sign players begins in the new year. So how eager are you to get that process started?
Very eager. I've already had a lot of conversations with players. Actually, I talked with players that just this past weekend, after games, asking them how they feel they've played, and what their plans are for hockey. It's not just finding every player possible, it's finding the right players. So I know it might be a little slow to start right now, but once January 1st hits, I think a lot of the preparation that we're going through at the Terriers to make sure we're finding the right players is really going to pay off for us when we start there. And then slowly but surely, we're going to one by one organize that roster to be where we want it to be.
When you're in the process of talking to players and watching them, what are some things that you look for most on the ice and then again off the ice?
What they're doing without the puck right away. What decisions are they making? How are their reaction times? How is their skating? I really want to bring in a team that can skate well, a team that can move up and down, transition through the ice really well. Skating is really important for me. I can develop it and through the season, but I want to see a player that has a ton of speed and has a lot to give athletically, and is making the right choices as they plug and play themselves throughout each zone, and finding successes. It might not be scoring 100 goals in a certain game or in a certain weekend of games. It might be back checking really hard, being strong on the puck, creating turnovers, communicating, just all around hustle. Those are the things that really add up to what type of players find success at the junior level, and that's what I'm looking for right now.
And getting to know you a little bit, would you say that you have a specific coaching style?
Yeah, I've kind of surprised myself. I can be quiet at times. I can be super loud and excited at times. I can I adapt to the certain situations that we are when I've been coaching, and I really think that my style as a coach is kind of drawn from, my style as a teacher, being in the academy world and the education side of things. I've understood how each player responds differently to their teachers, and I've taken that type of process into coaching and coaching each player a different way. Not in a way where I'm coaching this player only. No, it's more like, what does that player need in order for that player specifically to be successful. And that's basically my style. If that player needs to be yelled at, I'll yell at him. I might not want to, but if he needs that to get him going, I'll tell him, like, hey, like, I have higher expectations, and you have higher expectations for yourself. And if there's players that respond better to positive reinforcement, then I'm going to give those pats on the back, but I'm not going to hand it out like it's free. But it's something that I know if that player is going to have a better next shift by a quick positive note, then that's what I'm going to do as that player's coach. So my style is pretty individualistic. It's adaptive to every single player on the roster a different way, but I found that to be one of my most successful traits as a coach.
And I'm glad you brought up the aspect of teaching, because in college you earned Bachelor of Science in secondary education. Did you always want hockey to be in some way part of your career?
Yeah, I in the back of my mind, I was, what's the best way to get to coaching right away? And I was teaching, right away, right after school. If I went into that road, I'd be able to coach hockey after school. And luckily I've been able to turn hockey into a career.
And we know you played growing up in Michigan. Do you have any favorite moments or memories from your playing days?
Yeah, I think my favorite memories kind of all come together. I was a very physical player growing up. I played many sports from a small town. And a lot of players from where I came from played multiple sports. So I was a football player, baseball player, ran track, played basketball, played hockey. But I think a lot of the physicality, strength, or components I got out of football helped me in hockey. And I was a force to reckon with in the corner. Sometimes I might have made some hits that were a little bit too aggressive, but I just I loved fighting for the puck. I liked forechecking. I liked battling for the scrums, and throwing a good body check into the boards. So those were, if I just have to kind of tell you my memories all together, it's just probably reliving my playing style, and that's just kind of who I was.
And finally, outside of hockey, how do you like to spend your time?
Yeah, with my family, we've got 2 dogs, and we got a backyard here, and we just like to take dogs for walks and listen to music and relax. Living out in New England's probably one of the more surprising things that we've come across, being close to the ocean and finding a lobster roll, and just taking a drive and seeing what it's like out here. It's those are kind of some of the things that we like to do on our free time out here, and we really enjoy it.
All right, Coach Gonyeau, thank you very much for your time, and can't wait to see what happens with the Terriers next year.
Thanks so much. I appreciate your time. Thanks.
This week's episode is brought to you by Hockey Tech, the developers for the new EHL app, available now in both Apple and Google stores. And with that, let's bring in this week's E-Crew, Jeff and Tyler. We're at kind of a weird point in the hockey calendar, but it's like an annual thing, right? Like we're in December, and it's always this kind of 2 or 3 week just rush up until the holidays. Do you guys feel the same way?
Yeah, I've been saying it on all my broadcasts, Neil. You listening to even games that I'm not doing in the EHL? Because I literally been saying that for the last few weeks. Because it is true. Tyler, and I'm sure you'll agree. It's weird. You get that Thanksgiving break, right? You get a week off unless you're the Seahawks or Railers. Then you play a 2-game series Thanksgiving weekend. And then the Railers sneak in at the end of November to say, hey, there's one other team that's going to play in the EHL to finish off the calendar month of November. But yeah, it's weird. You get that little break of a week, and then you come back, and it's like a sprint, like you just said, Neil, for 3 weeks. And then you get some teams, a week or 2 weeks off, kind of 10 days or so. So yeah, kind of an interesting time of year, but really interesting schedule we've had since we came back too that we're going to dive into. But Tyler, what say you?
No, I would have to agree, Jeff. I think the common phrase we've been repeating is it's no longer early in the season. We can no longer keep saying that it's early because it's not. The calendar's flipped officially to December. You know, every team now has hit the 20 game threshold. The Express were the last to get there. I called that game against the Chiefs last weekend, and the sentiment is the same. I think it's felt about the players and the coaches too. I think everyone knows that the season is a fast-paced one. It's moving along, and the games are starting to rack up, and it's starting to show on the schedule.
And I know we'd be remiss to not say this before we get to the weekly rundown, but it's almost felt like we've been making fun of Terry Watt all season.
I tried to avoid it there, Neil. I'm not.
but I'm
we love you,
saying we'd be remiss to not say this. Like, we've been making fun of Terry because every coach makes their own schedule, right? And he's kind of come flying out of the gates, but he doesn't lead the league in games played anymore.
Seahawks do 26.
The Seahawks passed him, so I'm sure Terry is like
antibody little guff.
I'm sure Terry is like, hey, I'm not leading the way anymore, guys. Back off, right? But again, it's this whole balancing act of how many games do you want to have after the holidays, and how many games do you want to have in particular at the end of February into March when the playoffs are coming around, right?
And on home ice or away too, sleeping in your own bed versus sleeping in hotels. You know,
I know Bill Zanaboni will never forget the COVID season where everything changed 6,500 times, and he had to play 5 games in 5 days because of a late season outbreak. So they're it's a little bit of thinking ahead. So with that, though, let's jump into the weekly rundown.
It's time for the E-Crew's Weekly Rundown.
The E-Show Weekly Rundown is brought to you by the Junior Hockey Podcast, your home for junior hockey news, knowledge, and nonsense. Check them out at tjhpodcast.com.
Do you want to start with the Seahawks?
Let's do it.
Are they just like the most intriguing team in the league right now? Like,
I think so. I mean, they're now in first in the East. They just shut out the Rangers 3-0 moments before we're recording this podcast this week. And interesting nugget I found too about the Seahawks is since that 10-2 baseball game that they played against the New Hampshire Avalanche that one Tyler Arago had the pleasure of calling, they are, I think it's 13-6 the last 19 games. 8-3 in their last 11. And I mean, Cade Herrera has been the difference maker. Kid has 14 goals, and I think it's 2 or 3 games out of the 15 he's been held pointless. I think he was held pointless today. He was up until late, but 14 goals, and their power play is still second to the Railers in the league, right?
Power play. They have elite forwards.
New goaltender.
You said it, Jeff. I think they've got the answer now in net that they've needed, and I think everything is starting to come together in other areas, but they're also scoring a lot of goals now too.
How are they up to 82 goals scored all of a sudden? This is a team that used to scrape together, 1-2 goals. They'd win with good defense and good goaltending, but suddenly they're at 82 goals for. And
you pair Cade Herrera up with Scott McManus, and pretty good things can happen. And he scored 4 goals in his first game as a Seahawk and never looked back.
Right.
I think it was 7 or 8 consecutive that he opened up with goals straight as a Seahawk. That's a player that complements what they already had there. Guys like Scott McManus, Hans Forselius got a goal today.
Adam Dubron, 3 goals, 25 assists.
Hollingsworth got another one today too. So I think they're a deeper team this year, but they've also got now some game-changing skill up front, and the goaltending too. You got to mention that as well.
Yeah,
the Android
has been great.
The Android, Jim McCabe.
Not fresh off the presses from Jim McCabe. The Android has activated his emotion chip.
Yeah, that's what he said. Whatever that means.
Jimbo.
So
you don't question.
Love you, Jim.
And not to get too far ahead, but it's when I say it's a weird time on the calendar, we obviously had the podcast that went out the day before Thanksgiving. This is our first podcast since, because if we had done one the following Thursday, we would have had 4 games to talk about. So it was kind of a really quiet time, right? Yeah. This past weekend was busy. We just physically can't drop one next Thursday because we're in the middle of a showcase. So the next time we're going to drop a podcast will be as every team is officially going on the holiday break. So that's December 22nd will be the next podcast release. Then the following Thursday, December 29th, not to get too far ahead, but so it's on everyone's radar.
Yep. It's already in our group me. We already know.
That episode so for everyone is aware, those are our Frozen Finals picks, right? And maybe something for me or for you guys changes in the next 3 weeks, 22 plus days, right? But today I'm picking the Seahawks, right?
Out of the East?
Why not? What I've seen lately, why not?
I'm in. Let's do it. We could use a big Z appearance at the Frozen Finals, right?
They go every year.
They do, right? But they'd like to be in it and not just be spectators.
Exactly. 100%. So
you're right. Him and Coach Richard always down there, always supporting the league and
why
watching.
not?
I think they'd like to play instead of watch.
And why not have it be this year for them? I mean, they've got some pieces that I think in years past they didn't really have. And this division it's really up for it's up for the grabs right now between the three teams there, the Rangers, the Express, who have the games in hand advantage, but obviously, games in hand only good in what you do with them. So I think it's going to come down to those three teams ultimately in the East, but why not the Seahawks? Why not the Seahawks this year, Neil? I could see it happening if they keep this run going. And like I said, it's the fact they have pieces that they didn't really have last year.
And the Seahawks and Rangers both have that good combo too of being able to score goals but also have strong goaltending. I mean, the Rangers added David Felak, and man, did he come in at the right time, right place, right time. He's now one of our top 5 goalies in the league.
What was the 04 saying from the Red Sox? Wasn't it why not us? Right?
Yeah.
Why not us?
Yeah.
Seahawks Hockey Club, right?
Why not us? This week's episode name. There you go. We already got it. Boom, done.
and why not us for the rest of the division? You can make a case for the Rangers, obviously. You can make a case for the Express, who made it there last year. You could still say that they may have the best goalie in the league in Jack Bostert, right? The Wizards are in every game, right? I mean, their record indicates that 9, 10, and 4.
One goal.
Love OT.
Yeah, and the Warriors, knocked off the Wolves for the second time this season, the day that we record this podcast. So I guess we'll shift north next and get to that division that we talked about so much. Like I said, we're not making those Frozen Finals picks today, right?
Thankfully.
But in a few weeks, we're going to have to pick one of these North teams. And with every passing week, I'm just finding it hard to not believe that whoever wins this division and makes it to Providence, they may not win it all because they're going to be so worn down just for the fact that they got there.
Took the words out of my mouth, Neil. I mean, go to our fancy new league tab, hit that overall, hit league, hit not division, and look and read the top 3. 1, New Hampshire Avalanche. 2, New England Wolves. 3, Vermont Lumberjacks. Thank you. Thankfully, the Protect Junior Ducks, Seahawks, and 87s all mixed in there is 4, 5, 6, and then the Spartans at 7. So 4 of the top 7 teams in the league in the North still. But no, I totally agree with that, Neil. Is that North division is going to be a gauntlet. It's our only division with 4, not 5, so there's no playing games. So it's 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3, and no matter what those matchups are, those teams are going to beat the family show, the bag out of each other. And but hey, like we said, why not us? That we can be proven wrong. We have many a times in the past, right, Neil and Tyler? So yeah, we've all been bulletin board material before. We're all journalists here, and yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I think it's going to be tough for someone to come out of the North after they get through that division, but we will see.
It's hard to even think who's going to really emerge. The Avalanche have been almost unstoppable of late, but yet the Wolves are only a point behind them.
Right.
And I know that there was rather lopsided loss today for them, a little uncharacteristic, but I mean, they're a team that scored 100 goals this year. And that's a division that has 2 more teams that are on the cusp of hitting 100 goals scored already this season. There's just there's a ton of firepower in that division. There's a ton of skill, particularly up front and forwards. I mean, you can just go down the list. If you look at the league leaders right now in offensive categories and in points, a lot of those guys are representing the North. And I think that's what's going to make this a real dogfight down the stretches. These are teams that are. It's just going to be who can outscore who.
Yeah.
And Heath
And
Mensch, a
now
guy
last
I feel like we haven't talked a lot about, right? Now number 3 in the league, 14 goals, 20 assists. And
Yeah.
we talked a lot about Hotchkiss and Prey and that points race with those two. But here comes Heath Mensch saying, oh, don't forget about me. And like you just said too, Tyler, AJ Lackus up there as far as one of the top points getters.
Victor Daniel, Louis Guernon in Vermont.
Udina from the Wolves, he's up there too. All sorts of guys.
There's a lot of skilled guys that represent teams in that division, and it's why when you look at it, there's so many wins and so many points because they've just gotten all off to such strong starts. So
goalies too.
Bill
Quay,
yeah,
just got named one of our stars of the month as the goaltender. Won 7 games in the month of November. Trevor Jewell, he's pretty good. Just committed to SUNY Brockport after putting a pretty good effort in the college All-Star series. Yeah, so good skaters,
I just
good
noticed. I was like, why does Seacoast only have the fewest games played by 3? That's because, again, we'll go in between podcast episodes, right? Between this one and the next podcast episode, which of course is we're on holiday break at that point. The Spartans play 7 times.
Whoa!
They play 7 times from the 9th to the 20th. Don't do math, Jeff, but that's 11 days, right?
Never do math on this show. Never.
And
that's 7 games in how many days? 11?
11 days. And remember, this is a division that combined to go 11-1-0 at the November showcase, right? So Avalanche at this showcase next week coming up. Philly Hockey Club, Team Maryland, and the Warriors. Those are their matchups, right?
Ooh.
Spartans will take on the Apple Corps, the Seahawks, and the Chiefs. Okay. The Lumberjacks get the Ducks, Warriors, Rough Riders. And the Wolves get the Railers, Little Flyers, and Philly Hockey Club. So
Good mix for all 3 of them.
If they can go 11-1 again combined, then it'll be the East Show North podcast. I don't know. Like
we'll rename the whole darn thing for that North division.
But I think 11-1's a tall task. But we'll see. You never know.
And something we've talked about a lot too, Neil, real quick, is that there's no bad teams. Our statistically lowest point getting teams right now, the Rough Riders and Warriors. Tyler just told you, Warriors just put up a 7 spot and won 7-4.
Against those Wolves. So
against the Wolves.
Beat anyone on any given day. You can't get that. I mean, in that Haverhill showcase, just to throw it back real quick, the Rough Riders took the Rangers into overtime. They didn't win.
I was say they've had a lot of really good showcase games. The Rough Riders had. I've called a bunch of them too, and a lot of overtime decisions that just haven't fallen in their favor. They've been, one click of the puck away from some of those losses turning wins.
You really can't underestimate your opponent in this league. Every team has proven that they can beat any of the other teams, and you saw that today. The Warriors definitely underdogs, even at home against that Wolves team.
Neil, back to you.
Central or South? Central or South? Where do you want to go next?
Can we stay symmetrical?
Well, let's go to the Central.
We've kind of gone. Actually, we have gone down like that. So we'll go to Central
North,
next.
Central, South.
And you mentioned those Rough Riders, Jeff. And yes, when you look at the record and the 15 points on paper, that's where they are, right? But they're a couple wins from being in 3rd place, right? Like
that's what I'm saying.
We've always enjoyed the jockeying up until the last possible day of the season. I think the jockeying this season could be even more widespread than in previous years. I mean, the fact that you can jump 2 spots that quickly, as opposed to just, one team flipping on the other. And that's significant, of course, because for the 3 divisions that have 5 teams, there's that play-in game first. And I think what we've learned, through all sports, is if you have the chance to avoid a 1-game playoff, you got to avoid it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would ask any of the teams that have been involved in it. Do we name them? Do we leave them nameless? I don't know.
We're good.
I called that Wolves Rangers game last year. I'll tell you that. That didn't end the way any of us thought it was going to. So we'll leave it at that. What's in the past is in the past. But I would absolutely 100% soundly agree with that statement, Neil. You do not want to play in game because that's it. It's one and done. So
Yeah, why have it come down to that?
yeah, you don't want to put your team in that chance, right? It's just a disservice.
If you can avoid it, by all means, avoid it for
Right.
sure. So
it's a disservice in hockey. We all love the hockey playoffs the most because they're a gauntlet when you play series, and I'm so pumped we're getting series back into the frozen finals now.
I think that's how it
well
should
done, EHL's staff, commissioners Bertanya and Ravin.
Oh, thank you.
I know it's voted upon, but
yeah, we proposed it, and it's funny. I was actually talking with next week's photographer. His name is Rob Rasmussen. I think you've met him before, both of you.
Yeah, connected last year.
Connected through Rob through my time at Quinnipiac, and Rob's coming to the finals again, and he's looking at the schedule, and I'm like, yeah, you can come on Friday, but you may not have an EHL game. Like, so the finals will go from Wednesday to Sunday, and the 2 best of 3 EHL series are Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? So just to make sure everyone's very clear right now that's listening, that means the EHLP round robin is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So no matter what, there's not going to be an EHL game on Saturday because it's just the round robin. It's just the round robin game. Yep. You could have 2 EHL games Friday, both game 3. You could have 1 EHL game Friday, game 3, or you could have none. Right? We could get there. We could get two game sweeps on Wednesday, Thursday. Right?
I hope not. Come on, let's not do that.
But you know what I mean, though. Like that. We'll get to this more in that episode. But what if one team is in game 3 and the other series is over? Right? Like it's what makes every point so valuable. And I bring it up because ultimately we're gonna have 4 division winners that make it there. Right? And in a season where we have the parity that we do, say for example, the teams finish where they're at right now, right? And the 4 winners are where they currently stand. So the Avalanche win the North, the Railers win the Central, the Seahawks win the East, and the Ducks win the South, right? It's easy for us, as we record tonight on the 7th, that the Avalanche with 37 points, they're the 1 seed. They face the 4 seed and the Ducks. 26 points, right?
Ooh, that was a great game. I just called it Paul T. Gilmar Memorial.
But the 2-3 matchup between the Railers and the Seahawks, who both have 30 points, the tiebreaker is their head-to-head, right?
I just went to OT the other day. Railers won.
It would be Ducks Seahawks.
Yeah. That's what I meant. Sorry, Ducks Seahawks, right?
So you'd have Railers at.
But how many times did the Ducks and Seahawks play each other?
Yeah.
Just one time, right?
Once.
So these showcase matchups are monumental.
They're little previews to the future, if you will.
Well, they could 87s last year.
Yeah, they could be the difference between. They could be the difference between you playing the Avs or you playing somebody else. They could be the difference between you being the home team for 2 of the 3 games or you being the road team for 2 of the 3 games. And maybe the line matchups to some guys don't make that big of a difference. But if I have the chance to tell my team who I want to have go up against, just throw it out there, Daniel McKiernan and that top line, then I want to take that. I want that chance, right?
Yeah.
So that's why this is so important. We always talk about on this podcast, never talk about the playoffs too soon, but the impact that these games can have is pretty significant. So
that's what me and Tyra talk about at all the showcases, real quick too on our broadcast is how the showcases are a different beast, and they're welcomed and loved by some and hated by some as well. Because of the 2 25-minute periods, 1 intermission as opposed to 2, 5 extra minutes a period of ice time. Ice gets a little choppier. Your strategies have to change. Some of these teams, you go in the record books, are pretty darn good at showcases. Some of them, not so much. But certain teams have evolved and they're here to stay. They're the best thing we can have as far as getting as many college coaches in as we can and developing guys and getting eyeballs on this talent. So and Newington is always that showcase in December. It's that halfway mark of the point of the season. It's when teams start to go one way or go the other way too. I feel like in the past.
And for those that are asking the question, say we do finish with a 2 division champions in Ducks Seahawks, right? And they go and they have the same point total going into the finals. It'll come down to their Monday, January 16th matchup in Exeter. That's the tiebreaker, right?
Well, another showcase game.
So, but what we're gonna do, and what's crazy about broadcasters like yourselves is we're gonna have one of these tiebreakers get decided And you're going to say to yourselves, like, even further than I called that game, oh man, in that game, there was this crazy bounce late. And that's why that team is playing this team instead. Like every point is just that critical. But before we wrap up the Central, I know I mentioned how the North would love a repeat of the 11-1 record that they combined to put together at the November showcase. I'm sure the Railers as well, who went 3-0 at the November showcase and gave up a goal.
One goal, yeah.
I would love to repeat that next.
And
week.
That was a tip in front too, so it wasn't even like, no offense to I think it was John Michael Childs that scored it, but a tip. So
I'm sure they would love that repeat next week. But then to wrap things up in the South to me feels like a division where if you win one day, you lose the next. It just feels like every time I look at these teams, they played 2 games last week, they split. They played 2 games last week, they split. It just, of all the divisions, it just feels that even, I guess you could say.
I mean, it's one of the only divisions that look at the streaks column. No one has a true streak. No one really in the league has a true streak right now, which is also
wins
another weird
together
thing.
in that division.
Yeah.
Very hard. No doubt.
Pro Tech New Jersey have been kind of flip-flopping back between first and second all year, and then Maryland and Philly Hockey Club and the Little Flyers have all kind of been also kind of rotating between the 3, 4, 5 spots. And now
Philly Hockey Club has kind of picked up a little steam in terms of their points too. They've hopped into third place. They've been kind of, for an expansion team, like, all things considered, their transition into the EHL has gone pretty well, you'd have to say, where they're at this point in the year. And we'll see how they fare in Newington as well. We'll have some good matchups.
They just had a huge 8-0 win over the Apple Corps. That was another cool nugget I noticed when I was doing some prep was I think we played 22 games since the Thanksgiving break, and we've only had 2 routes. Everything else was 1 or 2 goal decisions. Even the 2 goal decisions, there was a couple empty netters in there. So those are truly 1 goal decisions.
And that's what the Wolves are saying, by the way, about today's loss to the Warriors. There were 2 empty netters. That's everyone gets that out there.
Chill.
5-4, not 7-4.
I will say, while we're on the South Division, last Thursday, December 1st, was Tom Wilms' final game calling for the Little Flyers. That was really well done.
What a ceremony, huh? I saw that. He got his own jersey. They brought him out the center ice, puck drop. Well done.
Damn cool. And he hates being the center of attention like that. Like, he hates it. Like, he spent time on the broadcast talking about how much he hates being the center of attention. And then he was like, at one point, I think, questioning himself, saying, "But I am the broadcaster and I'm doing all the talking," which makes me kind of the center of the attention. But he deserved it, right? Because no one has called every single game for one team like he has since
he was there for 10 years.
He had a fill in every now and then, right? But he's been he's an OG, right, Jeff? Right?
Yes, he is.
He's been with them the entire time. Yes, he is. So that to see them give him that ceremony, and then it was cool because for a second I was like, all right, that's Shane Green taking the puck drop with Scott Kremen, and I was like,
from Team Maryland,
not JJ Creighton, the other captain. But then it dawned on me that Tom also called games for the New Jersey Titans in the NA.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
And Kremen won a Robertson Cup with the Titans last year. So that just a really cool moment, right?
Well done, Alo. Well done, Coach Catron, the whole PLF organization, all flyered up for Tom Wilms. That's great.
It's one of those things where, like, I don't know. I feel like there's times with this job where it's like, does it feel real? Like we're just all a part of this junior hockey league. Like, does it feel real? And then you kind of get a moment like that. You're like, yeah, damn, this is actually like a real thing. Like, and he was pretty touched by the whole thing. So I wanted to make sure we got that in because Tom deserved all that recognition that he got last Thursday.
Absolutely.
Over to the EHLP. And I'm going to start kind of in the middle because on the day that we are dropping this podcast, we are getting as big of a December game as we've had in a while, I would say, as the Railers host the Rangers. I mean, that division has come down to those two teams in that division's finals the last 2 years, right? With the Rangers winning 1 year and the Railers winning the year before, so that each team has taken a finals berth away from each other, but they have been jockeying at the top of that division standings for a long, long time this season. The Railers going into that matchup 17-5-1, a 2-point advantage over the Rangers, but they have played 2 more games, right? So it also comes a day after Coach A's funeral, which I do want to talk about that, Jeff. It was pretty touching to see the entire teams there, the entire organization at the wake.
Yeah.
On Tuesday. And it was to see all the coaches come out too, and hear all the stories. Like it was our coaches, high school coaches, college coaches, like he touched a lot of lives, right? And we don't bet on things in this league, right?
No.
But first game since the funeral, that Railers team, a big game, maybe a little bit fired up.
Jack Lee, game winner, said that to Coach Bertoni.
Well, that's the first EHL game. Now I'm talking the first P game, right?
EHLP,
Like maybe a little bit fired up.
I would say so. They're definitely playing with heavy hearts. And everybody, like you just said, Neil, very well said. I went there late afternoon, like right after you and Joe were there, and the line was out the door. I mean, I saw from college coaches I saw coaches in, we talk about the competing league, right? Frank Golden, coaches with the New Hampshire Monarchs, he had a huge, lot of really nice things to say about Coach Odessa. Like anybody and everybody. Colin Rose, mom and dad, who used to play for the Railers, now is over at Westfield State. They were in the line. So you got past players' parents that are coming, not just current players or current league staff. Or Sean Walsh was there, coach of Southern New Hampshire. So like you said, like from any level and every level. I mean, Coach Odessa coached at RPI. His whole family is in the business, has been for years. That was absolutely one of those moments, like you just said, with Tom's ceremony. Yesterday was kind of one of those pinch you moments when you kind of sit there and you see everyone and you're just there for everybody, and all the Odessa sons just thank you for coming. You know what it means to them to come out and give your best, and see a little Charlie Odessa there, and just it just puts you, it makes you speechless. That like we always say, like it's a family. This is an absolute family in the Eastern Hockey League, and I know I'm really happy and lucky to be a part of it and have been since the beginning. And I know Tyler feels the same way, and you feel the same way, Neil. It's just moments like that just kind of leave you kind of pinching yourself for sure.
Yeah, I just think that, like I said, we're not going to bet on anything, but that Railers team the first day after will be pretty fired up. And I know that Coach Shea will be listening to this episode as well. Just
he listens to every episode.
Sean Walsh did say to point that out. He'll be even more tuned into every episode now.
Yes, he will. Yep. So I'm still going to say, I always would say hi to Coach A when I call Railers Showcase games, and then he would tell Mike Free to pass that along and stuff. Like, oh, Jefferson had some good things to say today. And he used to love that I'd always say hi to him. Like I missed seeing him at the rinks. The last time I saw him was at last year's Havel Showcase, had a long conversation with him. And I joked with Brian and Matt and Mike the other day that he talked to me so long that I almost missed the second period face-off. I was like, all right, Coach A, I got to go out there, doing the broadcast and stuff. I'm going to miss the face-off. He's like, oh yeah, sorry, go right ahead.
Did you not have your alarm going that?
No, I think I did, but he just didn't care. That thing was just it was just going off, and he was.
I do love the Jeff alarm for intermissions to make sure he gets back in time.
Something you have to have.
Well, you're gonna need it, especially in Newington with how cold that rink can get too. You need every second of warmth when you have the chance. We always
go up to Brandon Johnson's office and get in that nice warm for about 10 minutes. You get the feeling back in your fingers and toes, and then you're like, all right, now I'm gonna go lose it again. Here we go. We're excited.
But obviously a big matchup in that Boston division, and going to be exciting to see how that division kind of unfolds. And then I know that these divisions have different names. I know, Jeff, you laugh about that every week, but I guess you can kind of call it the same as the North and New England division that has a lot of those same teams. Adirondack just keeps kind of ho-hum right there in the middle. And I think even in the games that they lose, it's like, no, they don't quit. And like, again, in 3 weeks, we're making picks and we're including EHLP this year. So, that of all the divisions,
that's my misery. Thanks, Neil.
If all the divisions to choose, I think choosing who wins the New England division in the EHLP, you could pick anybody in that division, right? So that will be extremely hard for us. And then I think quietly, the New Jersey 87s have just rolled out to a 15-2-3 start.
Yeah, seriously. I thought the same thing when I was looking at them earlier. I was like, wow, they're up to what? I haven't seen them in forever.
Did we miss that? I know they weren't at the November showcase, right? That was the way the scheduling worked out with the odd number of teams. They stayed home and played a home and home series with the Renegades, but it's like
maybe that's why, because we haven't seen them.
We haven't seen them for sure. And next week, so just an EHL showcase. We won't see them until January, but it's like, wait, they're 15-2-3? Like,
talk about races, them and the PA Huntsman back and forth, back and forth. But I mean, legitimately, there's 6 or 7 wagons out of 15 EHLP teams. No, seriously, I was thinking that earlier when I was doing it was Lumberjacks, Avalanche, Railers, Rangers, 87s, Huntsman. There's 2 teams in each division. And then, like you just said, Adirondack says, wait, what about us? And then
Valley.
the Wolves say, well, what about us? Valley. The Seahawks have been very competitive.
It's been a very competitive year across the EHLP.
What's that?
Look at those differentials. It's stupid. The 87s plus 56. Like, what? Yeah. Lumberjacks plus 34, Avs plus 23, Rangers plus 47. I mean, I always love, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like differential is always a really good barometer of how to judge a team. How many goals do you score? How many goals do you give up? It's kind of cut and dry.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's going to be exciting to see how these 3 divisions play out, just so everyone knows also, because we are kind of teasing the playoffs a little bit here. And we'll be talking about it a lot more over the holiday break. In the EHLP, there's 3 division champions, remember, and then of course the best of the worst, I guess you could say, of the 3 division losers, the best record gets that at-large bid. Which for the Avalanche last year, they still lost their division, but ended up in the championship game, right? Which was really a great championship game against the Rangers. I know I've mentioned a few times. That was the game that I literally missed every single goal. Remember? Because that was crazy too. Wasn't that? I left to go get the lunch as soon as the game started at 11 o'clock, and I missed like a 5-goal first period.
Well, there was like 4 goals in like 5 minutes. Yeah, it was like shot, score, score, score.
And then there were literally no goals until the Avalanche tied the game late when I was already down there with the trophy with Joe just in case. And it's like I didn't see that. And then there was the overtime winner, which came like 30 seconds into the extra frame, right?
It was fast.
I literally missed every single goal in that game. But
I remember we were talking to Mario and Rich and Mike Sorbella and Chris and all them were up there, and I was like, you guys ready for a long one or a short one? And then also they scored, and everyone was like, oh wow, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we'll do a holiday break episode just about overtimes, Jeff, because they're so different, right? Like,
it's crazy. Overtime has been everywhere in hockey this year too. I'm seeing it a lot at the D1 level at Northeastern Bentley too. It's everywhere. It just shows you the game of hockey just continues to be very competitive, and the talent is apparent at all levels.
You know what I should do? I should do some quick math, Jeff, and see how many overtime games we've had so far this year.
Well, we already know the Wizards are played in 4 or 5. They've only won 1. I was on the call for that, Corey. That was a good luck charm. Eh? I know you like to always jar me that I'm a bad luck charm for them sometimes, but
so we've already had 27 overtime games in the EHL this year.
Holy smokes! How many games have we had overall?
Just over 200.
Over 200. Wow, I was way off. Jesus.
I feel like OTs at the showcases have been a thing too. Yes, I had a few at Haverhill. You had one. I know you had at least one, Jeff.
Yeah.
The Avalanche comeback against ProTech.
Yep. I think my last day, I had like 3 out of my 5 calls went to OT. I was like, what the heck?
That has definitely been a trend this year, but particularly at the showcases, I feel like a lot of those 50-minute sessions ends up not being enough time.
Right? They're like, where's our extra 10? Oh, we'll give you some right now. Here you go.
Play a little 5, 3-on-3.
Oh, it's the best, right?
It's always exciting. I mean, I always prefer it end in overtime if it does go past regulation, end it in overtime, as opposed to a shootout. Yeah. Just my preference.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think
But-
I speak for everybody here.
Well, our next segment, as everyone knows, is fantasy. And Tyler, I think Team HNIB can be excited about going to fantasy this week.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so too.
You guys made up some ground.
We definitely did.
Hashtag 40s club. Hey.
I think
So-
We're not talking about me and Neil's old age.
It's time for the eCrew Fantasy Challenge.
and with that, the fantasy challenge, the eCrew Fantasy Challenge is presented by BioSteel, the sports drink of the EHL. Use the promo code ESHOW, that's ESHOW, for 25% off when you check out at biosteel.com.
I think Nash just started like digging in the middle of that also.
I was going to say, I thought I saw his tail wagging briefly in the back.
I think
He's digging for some more points for HNIB.
Yeah.
Where are those points? I'm gonna help him out. Dad, come on. That's
That was
not
a good
nice.
one.
We like
That was a good one.
We need
You know
every
who
last point we can
You
get.
You know who would like that one, Jeff? Jake would like that one. What you just said right
Oh
there.
man, he is the
because-
king of nicknames and quick little puns. He has been
Yes.
making us
I-
die in our group chat that we have.
Well, and I think the funniest one to me, it's all playful on social
Are you
media.
Gover
right?
it? Are you Gover it?
It had to do with Gover, right? It wasn't the overwhelming one. That one got me pretty good.
That was good.
But it was when the Wizards snapped the Avalanche streak, their winning streak at 10 games, and Jake tweeted, "It's safe to say that the winning streak is now Gover."
Gover.
And I was like, "Oh my
Right.
god,
Yeah.
dude!" Like,
he
It
comes
sounds
up
like-
with them on the fly.
sounds
Like,
like-
literally, we're mid conversation. He's like 1, 2, 3. Then he just rattles them off. It's unbelievable.
but Matt Gover was on Team HNIB for this past kind of 2-week stretch. We counted games from November 24th to December 7th. And he had a bonus game win in there, that one against
There
the
you go.
Avalanche, 13.6 points.
Big time.
He had 3 points from Kyle Dan, 9 points from Heath Mensch, 3 from Cam Arkelian, 4 from Corbin Mealy, and then Hans Forselius, his 3-point game today took you guys past us and then some, because
Ooh.
today included a game-winning goal against a top 5 team in the Rangers,
First goal of the game in a shutout victory.
and it shut
There
out
we go.
victory. So
bonus points. You guys are learning. There you go. That's how you get it.
Hans Forselius over this stretch got a
That's
goal, 6 assists, 3 power play points,
Woo.
and like I said, the game-winning bonus top 5 goal for 21 points. So in total, a 53.6 point week, which helped them gain some ground on Team OG. We got our own 9 points from our Seahawk, Jeff, and Austin Hirschberger.
Yeah, we did. Thanks, Bergs.
Yeah, we got 3 points from AJ Lackus. We got our own 18 points from Andrew Blanchard
There it
Ooh.
is.
from
Did I appreciate
Adirondack.
Thank you.
Nick Dallaire with 4 points for us. Isaiah McKinney didn't get us any points. Jeff probably thinks he was just too busy working out still.
Yep.
Those gigantic biceps.
Probably gonna be even bigger at this showcase.
Yep.
I just did buys and tries yesterday, Isaiah. I'm trying to get there, man. I'm gonna do at least 1 or 2 more arm days before I see you.
Max Benoon got us a victory over Philly Hockey Club. That was the game prior to Philly exploding for the 8-0 victory. So he got us
So thankfully.
8.2 points. Overall, 42.2 points. So yes, as I mentioned, Team HNIB gained some ground, about 11 points or so. But we'll let you guys, we'll let Tyler give us their picks. Remember, these are picks that take us up until the holiday break. So
Yep.
games counting from December 8th to December 21st.
Long stretch here.
And
And
you
we're
got the
gonna kick it
showcase
off.
games, which is always fun because you get so many games in so little time.
Yes.
Well, the showcase and the fact that for our first player, we're going to go with Carson Whitman. And of course, the Seacoast
Ooh.
Spartans are going to have a flurry of games over that stretch. And we're
Smart.
hoping that that means he's going to be a part of putting up some points for us.
Yep.
Because they've got a good offense up there. And speaking of teams that have a good offense, the Vermont Lumberjacks, we're going to select Trent King because he's a player that been putting up a pretty good rate of production in his first full season in the EHL. We're really confident in making that pick, Trent King. And then to round out our forwards, this is our EHLP pick, Damon Warren from the Adirondack Thunder. And that'll round out our forwards. Going to the blue line, will go to Philly, to the Philly Little Flyers, defenseman Jack Costabile. And then rounding out the blue line is Cody Plaza from the New England Wolves. Second time we've selected him this season. Also, the second time we've gone with Tristan Fatadad this season.
Yep.
He is responsible for getting us back on track, Neil. If you remember,
Yes, I do remember that
40-plus save shutout over the Rangers I think it was last month now already at this point. But that was a big moment. That was a big turning point for us, and we're hoping that Mr. Fatadad can turn in some more strong starts over this next stretch for the Spartans. And
there you go. You young guys are respecting your elders, taking notes. You're like, let's go back to the well where we got all those points, and then we can make up more points.
Yeah.
Going back to what worked for us before.
That's right.
Yeah. Jeff, don't worry though. The difference still is we are at 497.4 minus.
Get my calculator up. I'm doing this. What? 497.4. Yep.
Minus 342.6.
And that would be a 154.8 gap.
So we're losing ground, but we're still feeling good, right?
All right, we're still over the central mark for lead. All right. That's why we got a lot of new faces coming this week, Neil, right?
Yes, yeah.
Guys that we have not picked yet this year.
I was wondering what you were going to say about the picks.
Yes, thank you for helping us out and taking the lead and doing. Neil picked all these guys this week for us. I was way too busy and could not squeeze those in.
Cole Fagan up front, hoping that there's some overtime winners in there for him. I think, was he the one that Jim?
Yes.
The USS Smorgasbord.
Yeah.
I think that was that one. So Cole Fagan up front. Robbie, he's from the Warriors, of course. Robbie Rabroker from the Express Hockey Club.
Oh, sorry, Todd. I'll take one of your Express boys.
Dominic Demakeyovs.
Oh, look at you.
I've learned that one a little bit. He's an 06. I didn't even know that. He's an 06, right?
And tell me it again, because I was actually doing that in my head. I was saying Domakeyevs.
I think it's Domakeyovs.
Domakeyevs.
Yes. So
don't confuse him with Eddie's Grigoryevs.
Yeah, no, please. They love the Yevs up there, right?
Yeah, it was Nick Vasilyevs from last year.
I put Scott Kremen in here, Jeff, not because of just dropping the puck for Tom's ceremony, but Kremen is actually committed to go to SUNY Canton for the second half of the season. So this kind of stretch coming up is kind of his last. It's it for his junior career. So end it with a bang, right?
One more.
There we go. Let's go, Scotty.
Also with Tommy Madden on the back end, and then Kyle Spann in net. So, we mixed
goalie in the league. We'll take that.
We mixed it up a little bit, Jeff, but I feel good about it. So
I did too. Well done, Commish. Thank you for doing that for us.
Well, let's jump now into what to watch for. But there's plenty of games for us to choose from.
Before we wrap things up, here's what to watch for this week in the E-Show.
What to watch for is presented by Hockey TV, the official streaming platform for your EHL and EHLP action throughout the 22-23 season.
Do you want to go a game apiece in the EHL and EHLP just because there's so much?
We could, yeah.
Could do that.
Yeah, so, I mean, for me, I already kind of said it, so I'll just say it again. EHLP, Railers, Rangers, the day that we dropped the podcast on the 8th. So that's kind of an easy little cop-out for me. And then, well, I already said it, Jeff. So
I know, it's just funny hearing you say that. Come on for me.
I mean,
I love it.
I might as well back up on it. I mean, there are so many
too much
intriguing matchups at the showcase. It's hard to pick, of course, right? Mm-hmm. But for me, Avalanche Philly Hockey Club, first day.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tyler was saying, Philly Hockey Club kind of has put a good stretch together here of late that's helped them jump up into third place in the South Division. We know the Avalanche lead the league at the top of the league standings along with the North Division. And they're heading home right after the showcase, right? So they face off on the first day. Each team has 3 games. You want to start that showcase on the right foot.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 87 Seahawks on the last day.
Ooh.
Because Kyle Spann's our leading goals against guys, and Seahawks have been pouring goals into the back of the net for EHL. So, Ty, what about you?
I'm going to go on a first day matchup as well. Railers.
Mine's last day.
Railers taking on the Wolves. I think the Railers are starting to get their game going. I think they're starting to going the right direction. And I mean, what a better test than going up against a team like the Wolves, and first day of the showcase too. They want to build off what they did in Haverhill. There's a pretty good test right off the hop in Newington. So I'll give some love to Trevor and Jake's boys there. See what the Railers can do against the Wolves. Should be a good matchup, I think. Two good goalies too. Got to plug that in as well. Trevor Jewell and Stefan Kulhanek. Hopefully, good matchup there.
A goalie to goalie.
And you plug it in a way there for the Railers. Wolves 2-0 against the Railers so far this season. 4-1 and 7-4. So there's a ton of good matchups though. Do you guys want to highlight something on the EHLP? Or are you focused on the same game as me?
I took a look at the EHLP too, and we're always looking at both. 87's Huntsmen play each other twice in this fantasy chunk on the 10th and the 18th, both at Jersey Shore Arena. The number 1 and 2 teams in the South. So why don't we go with that?
Okay.
And here comes my boy Waylon saying hello, just like Nash is digging. Hello, Waylon.
We get so many appearances,
right, from our animals. Waylon, do you have a game to watch for, bud, or no? No, all right. Just real talkative. Anyway,
I always love when the pets crash things.
Right. Like, hey, we're still here.
I'm gonna stick with a North Division matchup in the EHLP. The Wolves travel to Hooksett to take on the Avalanche. I think that the Avalanche's P team has had no trouble scoring goals, at least in the games that I've called for them. No. They always seem to score a boatload of goals.
Oh, Tyler's here. It's double digits day. Here we go.
I think it's more so keeping pucks out of the net that's been a struggle for them early in the year. This is a Wolves team that has always seemed to have weapons up front, always seemed to have good offenses, especially at the EHLP level. And yeah, I think whenever they meet up, it's always a fun battle. Whether it's EHL or EHLP, those divisional games are always exciting to look forward to.
I like it.
Beautiful.
So just so everyone remembers again, there's no podcast next week because we will be at a showcase.
Sorry, do watch the showcase.
We just can't record the podcast while these guys call the games, so it's just not possible, right?
No.
So the next podcast will come out on Thursday, December 22nd. That'll be really just a recap of everything that's taken place to date, which will then set the table for the following week, the 29th, which is a podcast solely focused on who we're picking at that point of the season to go to Providence, which, as everyone knows, creates a ton of bulletin board material for every team that we don't pick, right?
I think that's why it's my most hated episode of the year, but I'm ready.
You get really anxious about that episode, Jeff. I know you do. So
I'm like Tom. I don't like the spotlight on me, even though we call games. It's so weird, but it's so true. I share that with Tom. I think Tyler does too.
And then one more thing for everyone to watch for, at least on this podcast, I am taking Jeff and Tyler to my favorite dive restaurant right before the showcase starts. So
you guys there last year. It's my second time. I can't wait to go back.
You guys can give your review of that on the 22nd episode. So a few games between now and the showcase, but as always, all of our games are on Hockey TV. And for those that are coming to Newington, travel safe, and we'll see you in Connecticut.
See you. Let's go do some home cooking with the chefs.
Thanks for listening to The E-Show. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released.